Hello and welcome. This is Mouse Gunner, and we're going to have another look at medieval engineers. Now, I have been tasking myself with making a large structure out of stone. And so far, my last couple attempts have not been all that successful. The first one, maybe you could argue, was successful because it did work with the structural integrity as it is. But my second structure, not so much. And I did a number of experiments. So this is the building that I ended up with. I did a live stream recently, about a week or so ago. And I was doing some experiments, and I want to show you these experiments because I did kind of keep them as they were. And these experiments were essentially what structural integrity could take in its current state. So I tried, as I had it before, to make a building completely out of stone. And what I found, just as I had found in the past, is essentially the point where you fail is that third floor. This is essentially your barrier point, is when you try and do the third floor. Pretty much every time I've tried to do this, once I tried to put in the ceiling, the whole thing collapsed under the weight. Now, unlike the previous video where I tried to do a large structure and I tried to do it multi-floors, I made the base larger in that video. So in this video, I decided to make the base a little bit smaller, but still using the same staggered approach as in that video. And I found the same roadblock as before. The second I tried to put a ceiling on the third floor, the whole thing collapsed. So then I did another experiment. And this experiment was actually a hybrid structure using stone walls, non-reinforced, but using wood floors and ceilings. So this just goes all the way up, just like this. So we have essentially two levels, and then a wood floor and a wood ceiling in between those two levels. So if we look at this structure, unlike the previous structure where we fell apart on the third floor, this structure actually survived to the point where I was building the sixth floor. I was just about to finish off the sixth floor, and just as I put in the last of the walls, the whole thing collapsed under the weight. So I was able to successfully build and keep structurally sound 5 floors. But of course, with that 5th floor, the thing was pretty much at the limits of what it could take structural integrity wise, and then adding on the attempted 6th floor caused it to collapse. So 5 floors can be done safely, but you do have to keep in mind that the weight is going to be pretty much at its breaking point. So what I did with this structure is I did kind of cheat. Previously my mission was to build a large structure completely out of stone. So what I ended up doing is doing a hybrid structure. So the middle part of this, what I would call a keep, it's not really a castle. This would be essentially your central building where your lord and lady or what have you, whatever your role-playing live. And then to make it their castle, we probably have surrounding walls around the castle, the keep, and that would make it a castle. But anyway, this is the central keep. And in any case, the central part is a 2-story, completely made out of stone structure. But these towers off to the corners are the hybrid stone and wood structures. Now it only goes up 4 floors because I wanted a little bit more structurally sound than that 5-floor construct that I had previously. But more or less, that's essentially what we did. And also, I finished the interior as well, and I tried to keep in mind what I would be using each of the rooms, trying to build off rooms in this structure. So I'm not going to say that the interior is complete, but I've done a bit of furnishing as well. So let's go ahead and also, before we get into this, I'd like to play around with some of the updates that have come out recently. Now, there have been updates with barbarians and what have you that have come out, and I'm not going to really play around with those because they're still very much in development, and it's not, in my opinion, all that relevant to what I'm building right now. But anyway, if we press the K key, we have one of our new functionalities, which is the day and night cycle. So we have night mode. Let's go ahead and click that. So now it's nighttime, and there is a reason I'm doing this, because even before this update was included, I did add lighting inside the structure. So as we can see, we have this new night mode, which this is the first time I'm seeing it, and it looks really cool. I really like the way that this looks. Unfortunately, I understand it's really dark for you guys. So I'm going to switch it back to day real quick here. But hopefully you guys could see the stars and everything like that, because we'll switch it to night here in just a second. As I did add lighting into this building. So let's go ahead and turn on some of the lights. I didn't put a ton of lighting in here, so I will apologize if it isn't the best lit. But let's go ahead and put some of these lights on so far. And as I said, I don't think I lit every room. But now when we turn on the night, we can see that they also added lighting effects from the torches. So essentially, now you have that kind of mood lighting. Obviously, this needs better lit than it is. As a matter of fact, we have another torch over here. It's a little tricky sometimes to find the torch head. There it is. And we probably have another one in the corner of the room over here. There we go. So it's a little bit better lit. Probably we need a little bit more light in the center of the room. But you kind of get the idea. And as I said, I tried to make each room have kind of a purpose. And we can see a little bit more of the lighting in here when we enter this room. So we have a number of these, I guess they're called bonfires now. So we can see a little bit of the lighting effects, but just so you guys can see everything in the structure a little bit better, I am going to turn off the night mode. So now that we can actually see a little bit better. It's kind of weird that even though there's no windows in this room, that it is as well lit as it is, but in any case. So what I tried to do, as I said, is I tried to make every room have a purpose. So over here we have our main meeting hall, dining hall, what have you. That room that I showed you earlier over here is essentially our kitchen, so you have a working surface for them to prepare the meals, a little chest for the different cookware, and then we've got our I guess technically our oven. I know it's really crude in its implementation, but this is kind of what we have to work with at the moment. So here you have your nice big fireplace to be cooking all your roasts and what have you. In here we have a storage room. Again, I didn't put a lot of furnishing in. You're going to just have to ignore the grass that's poking through. Because in a lot of my previous builds I would like level out the terrain and make it dirt so you didn't have this clipping through grass. But I built this kind of quickly in a stream, so you're just going to have to forgive the grass clipping through the bottom of the floor on the first floor. But in any case, we have our storage room. I just kind of threw in some things that kind of give you that idea that it would be a storage room. Obviously, this needs more fleshed out, and this could actually be a continuation of the kitchen as well. Okay, over here, and now that essentially is me entering into the tower section. So what I did is I walled off sections of this central main stone building, and then this is actually coming into those wooden floored and ceilinged towers. So that's essentially how I've combined the structures. So if we come over here, we have this is kind of like a common room area. I don't think I really furnished this area, but this is essentially a number of servants' quarters here. More than likely they'd probably be shared by a couple people. So kind of servants' area. And maybe we could even make a door that goes through to the kitchen, although that's exactly where the fireplace is at the moment. But essentially, so you have the servants are right near where the kitchen is, so kind of convenient layout for them. If we come through here, we have one of the ways of going up, but in here we have another kind of storage area, or possibly living quarters for maybe somebody that's a little bit more important, and then they have a little closet area here underneath the stairs. If we go up the stairs, we see that we come up in here. This would probably be like essentially a guard, one of the mini guard rooms in the area. So there's lots of windows so that the guards can look out, survey the overall countryside. If they need to, shoot some bows and some arrows out here with some bows or crossbows or what have you, out on any enemies that need to be taken care of. And I know bows and arrows and crossbows and things like that are not included in the game yet, but in case they were, you always kind of have to think forward thinking here. Now we have a number of ways we can go here. We have a passageway here that we can go across to another tower, or we have another passageway here that we can go across to this tower. So if we go across here, we essentially have looks like my game just froze on me. You have to forgive it a little bit. It is early access. So I'm going to stop the recording here, and then we'll continue our tour in a second. Okay, we're back. We had a bit of a crash there. This is very early access, so things like that happen at times. In any case, we're more or less back where we were just before the crash. So we just exited this tower, and then we're entering this tower over here. This tower is more or less the same as the tower over there, so it's another way to ascend through the stairs and come up as you see. Now, just as we have over here, we have another little passageway that we can use that comes over into this area, and then we have kind of a main bedroom, I guess you would or personal quarters for a more important member of the keephold, or living here. More than likely, one of the lord, lady, what have you, is living in these quarters. Very much the larger quarters. I have furnished them a little tiny bit, but give you kind of an idea of what this is used for. But obviously, this would need more furnishing to complete. As a matter of fact, they did say that they added a number of blocks. I don't think any of them were interior, but we can go ahead and look. Oh, let's see. No, those are the catch blocks. Yeah, it looks like the interior blocks are more or less the same that we've had, so not really anything new there. But anyway, this is one of the main quarters, and then over here we have another set. So possibly if you have the lord and ladies living in separate quarters, you'd have the lord's chambers and the ladies' chambers, if you wanted to set up your castle there that way. Or maybe this would be another important official, maybe a chamberlain or something that somebody of importance that works in this keep. And then we have some smaller accommodations, but again, people that are probably a little bit more important. Maybe you have the lord and ladies' quarters, and then the chambers of perhaps their children here and here. So you have a couple living spaces here, and then, as I said, these are essentially guard areas that they can watch over and you have another one here. But as we come over here, we come onto the main battlements. So we have the battlements here on the main structure, and then we cross over to this area. And one of the reasons I made it so that this tower and this tower were the only real structures that had stairs that go all the way up is because the stairs take up quite a lot of space, and it makes the rooms a little bit less usable. So that's why I did that, to kind of maximize the space that this tower and this tower could be used for, because by you not having stairs in these except for these very top levels, I have made it so that we could have that storage room and the kitchen and the servants' quarters down below, so a lot more usable space. So over here we have yet another area that the guards can use to defend the keep, and then up here we have the battlements on top of the towers. And you're going to have more or less the same kind of structure on all four of the other towers, essentially stairs that come up onto the top so that you can survey the surrounding countryside and get a nice good vantage point to shoot down on any opponents that come to siege your keep here. So that's more or less the setup of this this keep. It's very basic but the idea was with this is that I thought about how would I make this a usable structure, not just a structure that works as far as the structural integrity goes, but one that is usable as well. Now, I don't really know how well this would hold up to a catapult attack. Now, as you can see here, because these towers don't have any internal structure support, you do see a number of the color changes on the outside of the walls, because that's mostly the bearing structure. So it is questionable on whether or not this tower would hold up to even a single catapult ball. But as we've seen right now, with the way the structural integrity works, is castles do not really hold up all that well to being hit by catapults. Not well at all. But you also have to keep in mind that an actual catapult would not be really as effective as your stone throwing, little thing that you can use to like simulate a catapult, because with that simulation, you're simulating a catapult shooting, full blast at very, very, very close range. And just to show you some of the structural integrity in here, so we have a bit of orange and yellowish colors in here, but this is more or less what you can come to expect from structural integrity when you make a more larger structure. But just to simulate, what would happen with if we were to hit this. Let's go ahead and get a large projectile thrower, and we'll hit it from a little bit further away distance, so we can get a little bit more realistic interpretation of what would happen if this thing got hit by a catapult. Now you would say this is not really all that far away. So let's do a 3 count. 1, 2, 3, and release. And there we get the damage that catapult did. So it breached the outer wall there, but the structure itself more or less stayed intact. Now, obviously, if we came to this thing much closer range and we blasted it, it might cause the whole structure to go 1, 2, 3, and there we have it. Alright, well, obviously these towers are seemingly somewhat resilient. Obviously, we can breach a wall pretty easily and then siege the keep from that hole, but the actual entire structure didn't fall like what we had with the House of Cards video. Now let's test the central stone structure and see how well it holds up. So again, I'm going to do a 3 count. 1, 2, 3, and we hit the structure, and we see a little bit more damage. So seemingly, the stone structures don't hold up as well. I'm going to do it from a couple of the sides on this castle because of the way that I built the structure. It actually does make a difference. So again, 1, 2, 3, and we hit the structure, and it does appear that although it is bringing down, we're having a lot of slowdown, so this might actually bring down quite a lot of the structure here. So we're finding with the stone structures, yeah, that just took out the entire castle. We're finding with the stone construction, where you're building these arches supported by, by these columns, that obviously that they do not hold up nearly as well as the towers that are a hybrid construction. And I'm kind of curious. We're going to have quite a lot of slowdown, and that's not frame rate slowdown. That's just lag caused by all the calculations. At this point in time, there are a lot of calculations going on with the structural integrity when a building collapses. It looks like it's about done. So we had that central keep essentially under one catapult strike, again at close range, but one catapult strike essentially brought down that central structure very easily, even though it was completely and totally made out of stone. But we see, even with that stone structure pulling some of the structure of the towers down, the towers actually stayed intact. So paradoxically speaking, these structures, which are made out of just stone walls and a simple box structure with wood as the floors and ceilings, are much, much more resilient than these stone structures that are built with arches and completely made out of stone. That's kind of counter to what I would think would happen, but that's essentially how structural integrity works in the game so far. And because the towers were actually kind of built inside the structure of the keep, you do see that this kind of corner edge of the towers was literally pulled off when this keep collapsed. But outside of that, the towers more or less stayed intact. So that's pretty much the video. So we had this keep. We built it. We kept in mind, what we would do as far as the layout, interior-wise, and everything with the structure. And this is a good building platform to build a castle. Essentially, when I were to go to build a castle, I could simply just copy and paste this whole structure, put it somewhere else, flatten out the terrain, build the terrain around this structure, then give it some exterior walls and make it a proper castle. So, you can use these kind of basic building principles. Then, using the basic building structure, you can kind of adapt that building to suit the rooms that you want to create. Because just as with that previous video that I made, where I tried to make a structure completely out of stone, I made the same overall kind of structure like this, with just, a series of arches with supports. And then to make this interior structure, I just walled off sections to make rooms as I saw fit. And that's essentially how you can build things and keep in keeping with the structural integrity. But in any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.